Hey everybody, welcome to today's live stream. Only 1 minute late. That's probably a record. So anyway, guys, I hope you guys are all doing good today. So we're going to be casting some skateboard shavings. These are sent in by Mike Early over at SoCoJoCo. I'm not sure how to pronounce that. SoCoJoCo? I don't know. Whatever. And we got a sticker to put up on the pressure pot, but he's been doing lots of skateboard projects, turning them up, and he saved the shavings. And so we're going to play with them, see what we can get. I guess he did a little bit of experimenting with resin, and one little tip, he kind of packed it really full, and he said that didn't really work as well. So I don't know if I'm going to, I haven't seen what he did, you know, so I'm not going to worry too much about that. But I thought it'd be kind of fun to experiment with this and see if we can take some, you know, it's like a double, it's like Inception recycling. He recycled skateboards, and then we're recycling the shavings from the recycled skateboards. So it should be kind of fun today. And I don't know exactly what types of blanks. I haven't really put much thought into this. So I'm going to need you guys' suggestions on like what type of blanks do you want to see made with this stuff. Like I said, I have no clue what we're going to get out of these, if they're going to be cool or not, but they're pretty cool looking. So let me switch to this view. And there we have it. I mean, pretty cool looking. So, you know, there's also obviously some wood and some kind of dusty particles. One thing that you could maybe do is maybe like sift these a little bit, which I can kind of, you know, I can kind of shake the smaller particles out, but I don't know. I think it'll be kind of fun to see what we can make out of these. Worst case scenario, I mean, the blank minimum is going to kind of look like this, which, I mean, you know, if you just poured this stuff in clear, I think that'd be kind of neat looking. So I have high hopes for this. I think it'll work pretty good. So anyway, like I said, I hope everybody's doing good today. So Halloween is tomorrow. I always get things mixed up because when I was a kid, the state of Nevada, so Nevada Day is on the 31st. And they always, so I lived in the state capital. I grew up in Carson City. And so I still to this day don't know what day Halloween actually is, because three things happened. So Halloween in Carson City, when I was a kid, we trick-or-treated on the 30th because Nevada Day was the 31st, and they'd have a parade. And like people were drinking and stuff, and so they didn't really want kids out, you know, wandering the streets when there could be, you know, like drunk drivers and party people, you know, all over the place. And so it was kind of crazy because we could technically trick or treat in Carson City on the 30th and then go to another town like Reno and trick or treat again on the 31st. It was really crazy. So I have a totally skewed, I never know what day Halloween actually is. But anyway, I hope everybody's going to have a little bit of fun. I know that this year things are a little bit different, but hopefully, you know, within your kind of, you know, sphere of influence, hopefully you'll be able to kind of get together and have a little bit of fun, do something fun, you know, at least bare minimum with your own family. Maybe, you know, with a few neighbors or friends or something like that though too. So anyway, and I don't even know what they're doing for, and that whole Halloween trick-or-treat thing has changed now in Carson City. Now they've kind of shifted it to where the parade just happens some day. I don't even know what the rules are at this point. But now we trick or treat with the rest of everybody else on the planet. So anyway, hopefully, so actually, does anybody have any really cool costumes? Let me know in the comments. I want to hear what you guys have. I actually bought at, let's see, where was it? JCPenney's had these, I think it was JCPenney's, had full-on Chewbacca suit things. So if I ever want to dress up, I was never a big Halloween person, but if I ever need a really cool outfit, I have like a whole like onesie Chewbacca thing, and I even have the little slipper things as well as like a hat thing. So I'm going to be Chewbacca basically. I need to get a real bandolier thing that he wears, but anyway, let me know what you guys are dressing up as, or if you maybe, you know, like your kids have a really cool costume, something like that. So anyway, so the other thing that we need to do is we got a couple of blanks that we made on Wednesday, and I wanted to share these guys with you. So the crack, and I want to stop and I want to say a couple things about deep pour, because some people, I want to make sure everybody understands that so far I have done nothing that deep pour was actually intended for. I'm using deep pour. Everything that I've done was not what it was intended to be used as. It's going to be a great resin river table resin, you know, for that type of thing. Big pours that are kind of a couple inches deep, horizontal. That is what that stuff was made for. It's going to work awesome. filling cracks, not exactly what it was made for, and definitely not pouring in gigantic masses like the failures. So I just want to stop and say that. There's nothing wrong with it. I actually think it's more valuable for me to test this stuff doing things that it wasn't meant to do, like what are its limits? That's a lot more valuable information than what is it supposed to be, intended for. If you want to see deep pour in use, Alumilite already has a good resin river table video, so you can see what it, how it was intended to be used. I've been just kind of messing around with it so far. Had a big failure on that big pour. That was really kind of my mistake, but I actually think that the crack filling, this is not what it was intended for, but I think it'll work. So I just wanted to preface everything and just reiterate. There's nothing wrong with deep pour. It's a great resin. It has advantages for certain things. I just haven't used it the way that it was like to its potential yet. But just to let you know, I do have a resin river table project planned. I have tons of slabs that I bought for like nothing from this guy that used to make like the rustic furniture, and he was literally just like giving them away. I think I don't know how many slabs there were, but I bought a bunch of cedar slabs that were like 15 feet long and like 2 inches thick. I must have taken, I didn't even take all of them because he had an entire tree, huge tree. I must have taken like 6 or 8, maybe more of these, 10 of those slabs. I got a few ash slabs and a bunch of, he called it blue pine, which is beetle kill pine, the stuff where these beetles ravage it and it turns the pine blue. These things are like 3 inches thick. And so I got a bunch of slabs that are perfect for resin river tables. So one day I'll be using deep pour the way it was meant to be used, but I just want to let you know. So let me stop. Let's see, is there a question here? John's going to get a CA Tech pressure pot. You know what, John? I'm actually going to say hold off before you buy a CA Tech pressure pot if you can. They're fabulous and I use them. And some of you guys may know that whenever I've talked about TCP Global pressure pots, I've kind of been like, you know what, I had this experience with them and they didn't even know people were casting at pressures that we are casting at. So I could never give them, recommend that pressure pot. But TCP Global actually came out with a pressure pot for resin casting, and they're like totally all in on resin casting now, and they're actually helping support our podcast that Casey and I do. And I'm going to be getting a TCP Global pot, and from what I understand, and Casey Martin has already done a little review on it, he actually helped them kind of come up with, what does a resin caster want in a pressure pot. And so it's awesome. They're actually really awesome people, and I'm going to be getting one, and I'll be reviewing it too. But from what I understand, literally you can take this thing out of the box and it's ready. Like you hook an air hose to it type thing is what I understand. So they're 5-gallon pots. That's, if you were looking to get a 2.5, it is a bigger one, but it is going to be a little cheaper, and I think it's going to be a good pot. So I just want to mention that that is going to be coming up, and definitely head over to Casey's channel and check out. They've kind of changed the design. Like that was his video has a prototype in it, and so I'm going to get one. They actually are sending it this week of their finished one that's for casting, and so that's another option. And I just before you spend your money on a CA pot, I just want to wait because there is another option out there that's a pretty good option. One thing I want to say about them, I liked the pots. What happened was I called them. This was like 5 or 6 years ago. I called them and I was like, hey, I want to use this for resin casting. And, and the problem was on their website, it said like max PSI 90. And I'm like, how is this cheaper than a CA Technologies pot, but you have a higher max PSI? And the guy literally didn't know what was going on. And he's like, oh, I wouldn't go over 35 in it. And that was it. I was done. But like I said, that was then, and things have changed with that company. So just an idea, just if you have time to wait. They already have them out if you want to go and check them out, tcpglobal.com. But Casey was kind of working with them, and they're actually going to set up an affiliate program with, I think it's for the ResinCast podcast specifically. So they're just interested. I think Steve was the guy that we talked to. They're listening to ideas, and Casey and I actually have more ideas for them, so there might even be newer things coming out down the road. So anyway, I just wanted to mention that. I don't, and by the way, I don't have a code or anything like that for CA Technologies pots. You can get them either at Turner's Warehouse or at Finish Systems. So either way, just wanted to let you know. I stand entirely behind CA Technologies pots. The reason that I'm mentioning this is that there's a lot of people that CA Technologies pots are not cheap. You know, they're pretty expensive, and so anytime you can get a quality pot that's not as expensive, I'm behind it. At this point, it's kind of like Harbor Freight or CA Technologies is how I've always kind of been. If you really don't want to spend the money, just get the cheapest one on the planet, but they suck. But TCP is kind of an in-the-middle thing now with the resin casting specific one. So just wanted to stop and mention that. Let's see here. One thing that I do want to ask them if they will produce is a 2.5 gallon pot, because unless you're making gigantic things, there's no reason to have a 5 gallon pot necessarily. It's nice to have, but I find that, you know, most people are making things that'll fit in a 2.5 gallon pot, typically. That's the majority of people. So I think they might be coming out with one of those down the road. So anyway, let me switch camera. I'm talking already. I'm sitting here drinking my water, talking about pots. All right, so here's the results. I'm going to tilt the camera down a little bit here. And as you can see, it cleared up like almost entirely. It's a little foggy, kind of fuzzy, but look at that. Look at that. We can see inside there, so I have high hopes. Now, the only problem is, something got in there. It's still tacky. Okay, so this hasn't hardened up. This was the one that was pressurized, but it's still kind of sticky, tacky, and definitely, I don't know if you can see that, but you can dent the top with your fingernail. Same goes for this one. Can't really see a whole lot in there right now, but once we remove the top layer and all that stuff, but it's still kind of soft, like very soft. So, and this is why I kind of wanted to preface the fact that, you know, did I do the right, was I even on the right camera? I don't think I was on the right camera. So, sorry. Look at that. Cleared up. I think we're going to be able to do it. And then here's this one. But it's, like I said, like soft, very soft. You can dent it with your fingernail, and I'm barely even touching it. So, anyway, so what I wanted to do, I wanted to preface and say that, what I'm going to do, all that I need to do is just let these things sit for like, 5 more days, maybe something like that. Just give it time. Epoxies, if they come out really soft, typically if you give them enough time, they're going to fully harden up. I actually mixed up some, I think it was liquid diamonds, maybe. I don't know. It was an epoxy, but for the most part, most epoxies are all the same. And what I found out was that if you add too much hardener to epoxy, if you're way like it, let's say, with most of them, like liquid diamonds and deep pour, it's like 2 to 1 resin to hardener. So let's say that you went 1 to 1 on that instead. And so you have way too much hardener. What ends up happening is they come out rubbery, like almost like bouncy balls. And so I wanted to kind of see how that, just test that and see if that was actually the case, and it was. But after like 6 months, the thing is fully hardened up. So just give epoxy more time if it's soft, because it will harden up eventually. As long as generally as long as you followed the directions with mixing and measuring, it'll harden up. It just takes a little bit longer. And deep pour is meant to be poured in larger quantities. So it generally just didn't really heat up enough. So it's going to be, instead of the heat, we just need to give it time. Okay, so just wanted to let you guys know about that. So behind me, I don't know if you can really see, I've stuck some of the shavings in the oven, and it's been kind of warming up for, however long now, like almost an hour, 45 minutes to an hour. And before I finish, let me wrap up with these. So I'm going to put these aside, let them fully harden up and kind of be ready for me to actually do something with them. And then we're going to, I'm not going to do this on the stream because it's literally just going to be a ton of sanding. So I don't think you guys really want to watch me just sand these things. I can kind of give you, if anybody's interested, I can kind of explain what I do, but it's going to be simple. I'm literally just going to take a random orbit sander, go all the way up through the grits, give it time. If you're doing a cube, definitely wipe off the surface between each grit before you move on. That I think is a key. And then once you get to I'll probably be using Abranet discs, all the way up to like, let's see, like maybe, I don't know how high mine go. I can go up to about 1,000 on Abranet discs. So I might just do that, go up to about 1,000, and then at that point I'm just going to wet sand. So, and just use Zona papers and hand do it. So that's how I'm going to deal with these. It's just a lot of, work basically. But I don't really think that that's going to be particularly fun. I don't know. Let me know if you guys really want to see me sand one of these. I'm not going to do both of them. But I can maybe kind of go through if you really want to see that. I don't really think that's going to be particularly fun to watch. So I don't know. Ashley's here. What's up? How's it going? Nice. Ton of people over. Oh man. Abranet discs. You know what? Where do I get them? Honestly, I don't use random orbit sanders like ever, so I don't even know where I've gotten them. I think that Turner's Warehouse might have them. I know they have Abranet. Let me just, I'm gonna do a little search here. They might have disc packages. Yeah, they do. Look at that. turnerswarehouse.com. And they have, wow, yeah, they got everything. They got 5-inch and 6-inch, and they have up to, they have the Ace. I'm gonna have to talk to Chad about that a little bit, but they have them up to 1,000 grit, it looks like. So you got it. You got them all covered with sanding. Yeah, I know, it's boring watching sanding. It's boring for me to do. Like, I really don't like sanding. You guys might know that. And I sometimes I kind of bite myself in the butt because I don't know. A lot of times I would maybe be patient enough by my, if I was just doing it in my own shop, I'll just, take the time. But I kind of feel like when I'm doing a stream, I'm like, this is boring me, so it must be boring to other people. So I kind of rush things sometimes. But yeah, so, like I said, let me know if that's something that does interest you. I don't know. I don't think it will. I think, there's lots of other people. They're sanding soothing. Yeah, I get that, I guess. Don't seal the live edge. You have to seal the live edge or else moisture will get in. I really wouldn't recommend that personally. Most people seal them, so I don't, I haven't seen what Goodview did, but I don't know. I don't think that I would recommend that. We'll see though. If I get, a problem, then we'll see. But most people do seal the edges, because the problem is if you use, let's just say that you have pretty wet wood, if you don't seal the edges, I mean, you're just going to have massive bubbles coming off, because what happens is that moisture is going to kind of evaporate into the resin, and there's nothing you can do about it. There's going to be bubbling coming off, even with epoxies. So you really do want to seal the edges with something. And I've done it I did it on the cutting board, and I do it a lot on a bunch of different things. So I don't know. I don't think that I would recommend that personally. Trick your fitness tracker? Yeah. All right, so let's get going here. I know I've wasted a lot of time. Sorry about that, guys. But I wanted to kind of share some stuff, and I had some things to say, I guess. So we got shavings. We got molds. What do you guys want to see made? I mean, we can make pen blanks. We can make like a sphere blank, put it in like a 4-inch type thing, and we can do what I'm thinking is we'll do a couple different ones. So I think the first things are, let's just focus on your answers. What do you want to see first made? What type of thing? We can do like just a brick of pen blanks. I think that would probably be the easiest way to do something like this. Have a big kind of mass of it if you're making pen blanks, as opposed to single. I mean, you could do single slots, but with that much stuff in it, it makes it a little bit. It presents some problems. Let's say there's going to be more air, kind of just generally trapped around them, because the way I'm going to do it, I'm going to mix it into the mixing cup, and so there's just going to be more air around it, And when you put it in the pressure pot, you could fill it to the top of that cavity, but that air, once it collapses, the material is going to drop. So I really kind of think it's a better way to go. Have a kind of a deeper mold and just pour a lot in there, and then you pressurize it and you don't have to worry about that level dropping or anything. Now, the other thing that we need to think about is, the obvious thing, we can just put clear resin with it and just dump it in a mold. But we could do other things. One thing that I actually really want to do, that I thought of, that we'll do with one of them, and I have better pieces of these things, but I got a bunch of little cutoffs of burl chunks. All right, so I want to make one that has some burl chunks. That one would probably be, we could do it with anything, pen blanks or anything like that. Where did I find gloves? Actually, so my dad has, I bought these on Amazon, but at this point I'm finding it difficult to get gloves on, like, through the normal routes. But my dad has an account somewhere with some, industrial company. From what I understand, if you had an account, if you're an existing account holder with like Uline and maybe many other things like that are industrial suppliers, you can order gloves. So he ended up actually buying me a case, and I'm really excited. So anybody that's a Firefly fan, I got the Hands of Blue 2x2. Those are the new ones that I got. I'm just trying to waste these, or not waste them, but get through the purple ones first. So let's see here. Yeah, a full hour of sanding, I know. Sphere, huh? Looks like we're doing a sphere. Yeah, bowl would be kind of cool. Actually, that's kind of, let's go with a bowl. What do you guys think about this? I haven't done one of the, let's see, where are they? We won't do like one of those gigantically massive ones. Oh, I know where they are. Let's do just kind of one of the small, like 6-inch bowls. Here they are. Actually, let's go with this one. Let's do one of these. What do you think about that? It's probably about a 6-inch diameter or so. Maybe a little bit more. Yeah, about 6-inch diameter at the top. And it's about 3 inches deep, maybe. Maybe just under 3 inches. That's kind of cool. I'm guessing that I'm probably gonna, I would like to see a sphere blank, like a 4-inch one too. But let's work on the bowl first, and then we can do a sphere next, and then maybe we'll just do a brick of pen blanks or like a stopper handle type of deal. How does that sound? Does that sound good? Yeah. So, and what I was saying about like Uline, I was reading when everything started with the COVID stuff. I was thinking, oh, maybe I should get a Uline account, and they have a thing where, like, if you get a new account, you can't order the stuff like gloves and all that stuff. You had to be an existing customer. So I was like, that's wonderful. Thanks, Stace. Is it Stace or Stacy? I'm not sure. I appreciate it. Let's see here. Okay, so let's do a bowl first. These are pretty simple. Now, there's different ways you can do this. If you really want to, you can, kind of turn a piece of wood and stick it in the center. The problem with that's great, and it's going to save resin, But the problem with that is it can kind of get kind of messed up, and the same thing if you don't like seal the wood off, and I know that that Chad does not like this idea, but if you don't seal it somehow or stabilize it or do something to get rid of the moisture, then you can run into issues with that. And so to me, the amount of resin that you're saving isn't really that big of a deal to me. I'd rather just kind of, cast it as it is, and I find it easier to mount to the lathe kind of. So I just want to let you know, though, if you want to mess with that, it's not that big of a deal to just kind of take a piece of wood and kind of just dish out something and stick it in there. You can even make it where, if you wanted to, I think the easiest way to mount that is just use the worm screw kind of thing. But you could even put like a chuck, like a tenon on it if you wanted, pre-make it like that. Stace, nice. Sweet. Okay, so that didn't help. Did I say it right, Stace? Because then Flaming Turner said Stacy, so I'm not sure. I'm still a little bit confused. I'm just following here. All right, so let's just mix up a bunch of this stuff and do clear resin and see what we got. The other thing that I was going to say is, so you can go clear resin with this, and it's just going to be kind of gluing it all together, basically. We could try to use dye. You know, like I could see using a white dye. That would be kind of interesting, and then you just have little color and wood pieces kind of when you're turning into it. It would be kind of a mix, I think. There's already a lot of color in it, so I don't really think that putting a bunch of resin colors together is really that awesome. I would say like maybe just, you know, one color, like white, black, especially those two, or maybe like a, you know, just dark blue or something like that, where it'd be like a bold amount of resin and then these things would kind of pop through. Another thing you could do is like a transparent resin, you know, just, you know, whatever kind of color you want, where it's like the stained glass look. And then the other thing is, so there's like so many different ways that you can do this, is what I'm trying to explain. You can put a little bit in there, and you'll kind of see the shavings a lot more clear, especially if you just did like clear resin or translucent resin. You can just shove tons of it in there, and then it would kind of, that I think you would get more of a, what it looks like as wood kind of thing. I don't know, there's so many different things. Glitter might work, I'm not sure about that. White, yeah, I think white would be a good one. You were watching on the phone, then ran up, that's cool, it's all right. We haven't even gotten started yet, I've been talking for 30 minutes. I'm sure that I'm gonna get a comment about that on the replay. All right, so Nick's here, what's up, man? How you doing? How's it over in New York? It's like, I'm not going to be using deep pour for this. And that's another thing that I want to mention about the deep pour. Like, frankly, Alumilite Clear Slow Set does 90% of what I would ever want to do. Deep pour has some characteristics that may be useful for certain things for me, but it's not particularly useful for a lot of things. You know, it's such a slow setting resin that for like pen blanks and things like that, I would not want to use it personally. And frankly, I would probably, if you wanted an epoxy from Alumilite, ACC Clear, or I mean ACC Plus is probably going to be a better way to go. You know, I think it might be cheaper too, but it'll set up faster. You know, it'll just be a lot easier. So, oh, she's behind you. Nice. Oh man, you saw snowflakes in. Oh man, it's like perfect here. Teaching hybrid, nice. Oh, I see. Oh, yeah. Could go virtual. Yeah, I feel really bad for not only the students, but man, the teachers. You guys got the shaft with this stuff. I can't even imagine having kids and dealing with this stuff or being a teacher right now. So I appreciate all your hard work and dealing with the craziness that we have to deal with to get the kids educated today. No snow in Sweden. Oh man. I think not too long ago, they got some weather in Austria. I was watching Snowboard Pro Camp. I like that channel. And he's over in Austria doing all kinds of stuff. He was in Switzerland before that. All right, so we need, let's see, I don't know exactly how much this holds. It's been so long since I've done one of these. So I'm gonna just kind of wing it a little bit. I would say that 600 grams of resin would be probably, you know, plenty to fill this thing. Maybe 700 at the most. In fact, I think I do remember, a lot of the bowls that I've made, I've used these guys, and I'm almost certain that I use 600 grams for these ones. So I think 6 or so, 600, 700 is going to be fine if we were just trying to fill it with resin. So I think I can get away with maybe shooting for 500 grams. Worst case scenario, it just won't be as tall, and then next time I'll know for sure. But I think if we add, some shavings, go with about 500 or so grams, something like that. If it's really low, I could, try and mix up some really quick and fill it up further. So let's go with shavings. Let's go with... Oh man, which way do we go? We don't have any super chats, so we can't rely on the super chatters. Clear could be cool. Why don't we go for, so when I was talking to Mike, he said that he tried kind of shoving a lot of shavings in and he didn't really love the results. I don't know if he just did clear resin, I didn't see what he actually made. So let's go for light shavings and then just clear resin. I think that'll be a good test to see how does this work, and I think it'll be a good comparison to whatever Mike did. All right, so let's try that out. Let's see here. Yeah. Okay, so I'm gonna switch to the overhead. I moved the camera, and I don't know what you guys think about this, but when we were doing the thing on Wednesday, maybe like that kind of. I don't know. Yeah. I guess there's not, you probably don't need to see stuff that's too much forward. Let me just try and kind of angle that. I think that'll be a good one. You can kind of see what I'm doing, but it's a little bit different. I used to have it basically in the same area as the other camera, and I don't know. At least this way you can kind of see what I'm doing a little bit from behind, better than, I got, pressure pots and things in the way on this other way. So let's get our book, magic book of spells, out. That's what I think I'm going to call this from now on. All right, so sorry about that. You guys always, I make a decision, then you're like, I'm going to super chat now. So, and I'm gonna override because I really do want to see what kind of a minimal amount looks like on this one. So you guys will be up for the next one. We're gonna do the sphere on the next one, and we'll let you guys, the super chatters, get in on that one, okay? And I'm gonna save these. I guess the camera's over here. I'm gonna save these for later as well. I just want to see what kind of a more minimal amount. So I'm actually gonna up it back up to 600 grams of resin. All right. So today's date is October 30th. Oh man. Whew. And let's see here. We're doing skateboard shavings. So if you're just joining the fun, if you don't know exactly what's going on. So Mike over at SoCoJoCo sent me a big bag of shavings, skateboard shavings from projects that he's made. And so we're going to try things out and see what we got. So we're going to do a bowl, the white one. We're going to use slow set clear resin. Let's see here. So we're going to go with 600 grams. That's 300 times 2, 300 part A, 300 part B. We're just going to go with clear. I don't really, like I said, I want to just see what, adding some shavings to this does. Now, I don't know how much moisture might have been in these things. These have been kind of in the oven for like an hour maybe. So I don't know if that's going to be enough. We may run into some issues, especially since these came just kind of bundled, and I didn't really think to like dry them earlier or even like lay them out. So just watch out with that, especially with urethane resins, Alumilite Clear or Clear Slow. It's going to be more sensitive to moisture. Probably not going to be a problem with epoxies. I just don't think that there would be enough moisture in this stuff to worry about. And so we're going to do minimal, I'm going to call it just minimal or whatever shavings. Okay, so let's get a big cup. I'm going to get a brand new cup. I like to use new cups. Actually, this is another thing that TCP Global is going to send me. So I asked if you guys knew about TCP Global's cups, and a lot of people said they're really good. They're going to be sending me not only a pressure pot, the new casting pressure pot, but I was like, send some cups too. So I'm going to be getting some TCP Global cups to try out. I'm excited about that because I know that some of them, these ones aren't too bad, but when you're trying to demold things and you're squeezing them, these things can crack. You got to be careful with this. This is Mountain. I don't know. I just bought them on Amazon, like a huge pack of them. But I do know that there's some that are just absolutely horrible. A lot of people, I think, like, and I kind of like the Home Depot ones. They're pretty soft, but I don't know that they sell them in any kind of quantity, and I'm not going to buy them one at a time myself, so that's kind of lame. So I'm excited about the TCP ones. All right, so we got that ready. Oh man, I'm out of resin. Jeez. So I'll show you guys what I do about my resin. We're just going to tilt to you guys this way. So here's my big resin jugs. And what I do is I don't buy them in gallons because I go through, more than that. I'd be constantly reordering. So I buy it in the 10-gallon kit. And you can get these from Alumilite.com, well, from Alumilite directly, but you got a call to order them from Alumilite, or you can order them from Turntex. So that's the B. Always mark your caps and your jugs and all that kind of stuff, especially if you're doing things like this. So just open that guy up. So I just refill them, refill the gallon jugs from these things. And it's a pretty good system. And then when I'm done, like when I've emptied out, this is 10 gallons of resin. When I'm done with one of these, then I clean out my jugs. I wash them pretty thoroughly with acetone. Just kind of shake it around in there, dry it out fully, and then ready to go when I open up the new jugs and I got kind of a fresh one. That way, if there's any kind of old resin, it's not just, little chunks are in the bottom of it. I don't know. Every step that you can take as a precaution to not have problems with resin, I think is a good one to take. And the B is usually slower. It's thicker, so it fills slower. So I can kind of do both of them at the same time. And then, but I still have plenty of time to finish up with the A. And then go on to the B. We're almost there. It's about right there. Very exciting stuff, I know. And if you're really crazy, you can order 55-gallon drums of this stuff. That's nuts. That's way too much for me even. Oh, I gotta remember to close the air valve things. You don't want to expose your resins to oxygen, really. It's not really good for them. Get out of my way. Okay. Now we're ready to actually pour some resin. Let's do this. Spin you guys back around. There we go. Excuse me. So I've zeroed my scale out. We need 300 grams of part A. We're at 298.7. There we go. And I'm going to add a little extra part B. This is only a trick that I would recommend using with Alumilite Clear or Clear Slow. Only those two. Do not do this with epoxy. I'm going to add about 2 grams extra part B. It just helps ensure that things stay dead clear. It's not going to affect anything with your mixture. It just kind of helps out. So let's see. So it actually went up to 300.5. So I'm going to actually write a little bit of a note that it's going to be 302.5 part B, somewhere around there. It doesn't have to be exactly two more grams. Oh, I went way over. I wasn't paying attention, guys. So we're at 316. I really like, yeah. All right, so hold on a minute. So 300 point, I got to do a little bit of math here. So 316.5 minus 2. So I need 14. I need to add about 14 grams of part A. Sheesh. I'm going to be a little bit more careful this time. 5, 8, 10, 11. Oh, that was too much. Okay, we're close enough. Close enough. My scale keeps moving around on me. Okay, I'm gonna have to sneak up on this now. There we go. Okay. So effectively, let's just act like I've managed to get it to the point where there's two more grams of part B in this mixture. So just assume this is 300 and 302 part B, okay? Don't worry, we'll be okay. So I got my little mixing stick here. You can get like a little sheet of like 3/32 HDPE and just cut a bunch of stir sticks out of them if you want. You can probably even find some like scraps, somewhere from someone, maybe like I'm trying to think who uses HDPE. Like maybe like I don't know. Does anybody have any ideas where you can maybe pick up some just scraps of thin HDPE? I can't think of anything offhand. Numbers are your worst, yeah. So when you're mixing your resin, most of you guys all know by now, but just in case, there might be some newbies out there. So I keep the stick all the way down to the bottom. You don't want it floating around on the top. Keep it on the bottom of the cup, scrape that bottom. That way you're scraping the bottom of the cup the entire time. It also just doesn't, it seems to be less messy if you do it that way. But you also want to scrape the sides of your cup. So basically you want to make sure there's no residue of just part A or part B left over. You want to make sure you're trying to get all of the part A and part B molecules mixed together properly. If that doesn't happen, what you can see is little weird wispy trails in the end. Even if you don't notice it when you're pouring it, that can be an indication. When in the final casting, you have like little blobs of stuff that are kind of unmixed resin, basically. And visually, you can kind of see when it's still kind of like hazy, you haven't mixed it nearly enough. Once it's kind of cleared up and you just see a bunch of little air bubbles, kind of looks like 7-Up or something like that, then just give it a little bit of extra time. Make sure you've stirred it well, and you should be good to go. Most problems with resin come from either measuring, which I just made a mess of that measuring. Luckily, I got everything back where it was supposed to be, but measuring and mixing are usually the two biggest problems, especially if your resin doesn't set up. Typically, it's probably one of those two things. And you guys saw in that video, I just had a big kind of mess up, that big blank. If the mess up would have been that I didn't mix it properly or something like that, or I totally blew the ratio, in that case, there may not have been any salvage operation. It may have just been literally hundreds of dollars of resin and burl just down the tubes. So always make sure, and if you're a beginner, really get used to understanding, what do you need to do? Get good at measuring and mixing. Another one that people kind of mess up on is whatever resin you buy, even if you think you bought the same exact resin that you saw someone else use, maybe on YouTube or something that I'm using, always read the instructions that come with the resin that you buy, just to make sure, because there's a lot of things that sound the same, look the same, but some resins you need to use weight to measure it out. Some of them it's going to be by volume using a graduated cup, okay, like portions. So make sure, that one's actually probably the most common mistake that I see. And usually, especially in the Alumilite realm, people buy Amazing Clear Cast, because you can get it at like Hobby Lobby, thinking it's what I'm using, and it's not. It's a totally different resin. That's an epoxy. This is a urethane base. This is Alumilite Clear Slow Set. So just a couple little tips. Now I've mixed the heck out of that, so we're good. Now what I'm going to do is we're just going to add, I'm going to switch to this overhead view thing so you can kind of see a little bit better what I'm doing here. I'm going to get it kind of positioned so that you can see right there. We're going to take the shavings that I dried out, and we're not going to add too much, but what I want to do is I want to add it to my cup, okay? Rather than just shove them in this bowl, I think you're better off kind of trying to mix them in a little bit. So we'll just kind of see how this works. But you want to make sure that the shavings are totally saturated, right? And I'm trying to kind of get some of the like finer dusty particles out of this. So I'm just going to kind of mix it around. And I mean, honestly, that may be all that we need right there. I'm going to try and pull out some colorful bits here, if I can. A lot of kind of small shavings with this, so it's kind of a little bit tough, but it's kind of like confetti. All right, so can you see what, not that much. I don't really want to put a whole lot of shavings in here. Maybe a little bit more, but we're not trying to load it up on this one. I'm going to try and pull out some of these colorful ones, add them in. I don't know. We'll give that a shot. What do you guys think? That way you can see through it, you know, but we got our little colored bits. All right, so I think, let's see here. I'm going to let this just sit for a second. Let's see, where's our temperature? Let's see what temperature we're at. 90. We got time. Yeah, it's looking pretty good. I'm going to switch to the other view real quick. Kind of hold it up so you can see from the side. That's kind of what I don't know. It doesn't look like a whole lot yet, but hopefully you can kind of see what that's looking like. I think that'll be good, and then that way the bowl will be kind of clear, but we'll have, you know, some bits that you can see. So what I was going to do was I was going to see if these things tend to want to shrink or sink in the resin, which they really don't look like they're going anywhere. However, I am going to kind of wait with Alumilite Clear. So it's about 70 degrees in my shop right now, and the temperature's been cooler lately. So probably a good temperature to wait. What I've been waiting for, and things can kind of change depending on humidity in your area, temperature in your shop, all that kind of stuff. Another one that actually, this is not quantifiable, but honestly, fresh resin seems to kick faster than older. And a good little example of that is, some of you guys may kind of fall over when you see this. This is a gigantic blank. It's a vase, a pitcher, plastic pitcher full of resin. This is Stone Coat's like countertop epoxy, which is supposed to be poured in like an 1/8 inch thick max thing. But I poured it all at once. I mean, that must be like 900, 1,000 grams of resin. It was old and I just wanted to use it up. I never got around to making a countertop project. So it was like at least 1.5 years old, you know, whatever. And so the best thing to do is just mix it up and do something with it. And I poured that all at once. It didn't even overheat, which tells me that things, you know, fresh resin kicks hotter typically, I think. So there's a lot of factors that go into it. But in general, I think somewhere between 95 and 100 is a good temperature to wait if you're trying to kind of keep things in place keep colors from swirling together, all that kind of stuff. I'm going to wait till 100 on this. I could probably wait till 105 really for this project, since it's all just going to go into this bowl and then we're going to pressurize it right away. But I don't think it's that big of a deal, because I don't think these things are really going to sink that much, move around. But you can kind of see the viscosity. It helps to just look at the viscosity. Like, how does it come, how does this stuff, roll off your stir stick? That is probably a lot of times more telling than the temperature. So for newbies, I recommend, you guys kind of know general, numbers. Typically with Alumilite Clear, slow set, something over 95 is usually 95 to 120, somewhere between there, depending on your temperature and all that stuff, is usually the numbers that you're looking for. But I think it helps to kind of, when you're just starting out, kind of get an idea of what does 95 look like, what is the thickness, the viscosity, because that's kind of part of the game. So we're at about 99.5. I'm just going to give it a stir. That should be enough. 100. So, and then we're just going to pour this thing in here. Look at that. Nailed it. Could have maybe gone with 650 on this. I guess we actually did go a little bit over, but yeah, so it's just kind of just little bits. And I got a little bit here. I want to make sure it gets in my resin. We're doing minimalism skateboarding. All right, so you guys can see that and everything? I don't know. Like I said, I don't know how this is going to be, whether this is going to be awesome or not. This would actually be, I don't know if somebody might have mentioned glitter. This one would have been a good glitter one. I will agree with that idea. But too late now. We got to get it in the pressure pot. Sometimes, you just can't think about everything. But so we'll get this guy in there. Another thing that we maybe could have done with this, with that much, just clear resin, we could have done a couple little swipes of color, just like almost kind of graffiti style. But again, if you add a bunch of resin color to it, then you're kind of taking away, like micro starlight or something, minimal, maybe some smoky trails. I think that would be all right, but if you started putting a bunch of colored resin in there, it kind of detracts from the skateboard shavings. They're the colorful things. That's what you want the eye to go to, I would think. All right, so we got our pressure pot evenly, yeah. They're supposed to be good connectors, and I'm not particularly fond of them. I think I might change that one out. All right, so now we need to add, I think we need to do a sphere next. So we got Hugh in the game. What type of deal would you like to see, Hugh? So we've already done a kind of minimal shavings. Let's say that the options on the table for the sphere are, we can do kind of packed shavings, lots of shavings in there. Again, Mike did that and he wasn't super thrilled with it for some reason. I don't exactly know. I didn't see it, but he kind of said that, having it, full of shavings wasn't really awesome. So having that in your head, we could try it out and just see if we get a different thing. So we could do that with like clear. We could pack it full with, I'm guessing that Mike probably did it with clear. That would just be my hunch. I didn't really ask a lot of questions because I didn't want that to kind of dictate how we did things for the tests, for experiments, because I may do things slightly different and it may work out better for some reason. I don't know. It may work out worse. I just didn't want it to really, be that big of a deal. Another thing we could do is we could do kind of, I would say more than what we put in that bowl, but kind of like less shavings. And then we could go for like a solid color, white, black, something like that. But like an opaque, color. I'm kind of interested to see what a packed blank with color, with, so we would just basically mix up a bunch of white, shove in a bunch of shavings in there, and then see what happens. That might be kind of a fun one, but I'm going to leave it up to you as to what we're going to be doing on this one. And then on the next one, I'll ask Jen what she would like. I don't know, is Jen still here? She might have bailed. I don't know. No, Jen's still here, I think. I gotta make sure Jen gets in on this. But thank you guys for the super chats, by the way. You guys threw them in there and I was thinking and didn't think about it, so appreciate it. Medium amount of shavings with a gold swirl. So you want clear resin? Is that what you're saying? And then we'll do, let's do a 3-inch sphere. Those are just a little bit easier to kind of make, like to like get through the turning part. Let's do a 3-inch sphere, medium shavings, and then you want some gold kind of swirl. I don't know how well that's going. I don't know if I'm going to be able to do that very well, but I'll have to think about it. We'll have to think and see if I can come up with a good way. So I got a 3-inch PVC pipe here, and I got one of the Turner's Warehouse silicone plugs. I need to hit it with some mold release real quick here, and then we'll do medium amount of shavings. Oh, one other thing that we can do, and this might be, so I still have the little cutoffs, the little wood things that we could also toss in there as well. To any of these things. So, and I have more of those little goodies, I think. I gotta get my big box of stuff out here. Yeah. Maybe not as small as those ones. This is a good way to use up little, if you got little extra chunks of stuff, it's fun to make, like, I've done a lot with just white pearl and then just shove a bunch of those things in. That way the wood is colorful, so you don't really need a lot of color from your resin again. It kind of accentuates the little wood chunks, but you can just throw in little cutoffs. So even the smallest little stupid things, especially, a lot of the pen turners out there, you'll know that every tiny little chunk of wood could turn a pen into something amazing. So it's kind of tough because you got to kind of save everything at that point, but it should be kind of fun. Let's see, medium amount, let's see here. Okay. So so I have everything right. So we're doing a gold swirl, clear resin, and medium shavings. So I'm over here. I'm just going to hit this with stoner real quick. One thing that I need to try out that I've never tried yet is Alumilite also sells a mold release called Universal Mold Release. And some of you guys might know, I don't like, so there is another stoner that is kind of what people use for epoxy. This stuff is so greasy, I will not use it. I think it's terrible. Compared to the urethane, stoner urethane mold release, this stuff is kind of more just, I don't know, it doesn't run all over that literally looks like cooking spray to me, like butter spray. This stuff is more, I don't know, just not that greasy and nasty. And this is formulated for Alumilite Clear and Clear Slow Set for urethane-based resins. But I'm curious to see how that universal mold release works, because you can use that definitely on any kind of resin and silicone. Which I use this with epoxy with liquid diamonds. I know it works fine, and I've used it for other epoxies as well, but it's not entirely formulated for that. So I'm curious. I've never tried the UMR. I got to try that sometime. Let's see here. Okay, so I think we're good to go. So I'm going to start writing our notes. So number 2 we're doing, and let's see here. I can't remember again this one. I want to say let's see. I'm going to look it up because I've done some 3-inch, you know, using that mold. I should, somebody's going to be like, why don't you write it on there? I should. The problem is a lot of times I end up going through molds, you know, and they aren't necessarily the same exact one. So I just kind of, I just use my book to look things up, but I got to find, it's a little bit easier if I just use my app. That's why I use the digital pen, but I think I can find it. I haven't used that thing for a while, so that's another problem. Hold on, guys. Find out what I'm doing. Okay, I'm gonna have to pull the app up. Let's see if I can find it. So I have an app. So this pen is digital, and when I write in these special books and then transfer it up, like it basically records what I'm writing, then you digitize it. And so I'm pulling up an app here, and this is a Neo Smart Pen. They're not cheap, I'm not gonna lie. So you know, a lot of times it's kind of tough to justify depending on what you're doing. But for me, if I ever lost these books, I would be totally screwed. So I want an easy way to, oh, that didn't work. 3, let's just try 3. There we go. That didn't work. That didn't work. This isn't working so well. What book am I in? Oh, that's one. Okay. You know what? I don't care. We're just going to wing it because that's what I do best, and I'm sick of wasting time here. All right, so I'm guessing that 700 is going to be plenty for this. So we'll just estimate that. 700. We're going to do 350 and 351 because it's going to be a clear base. Now, if you're putting dyes and stuff in your resin, then don't ever do that extra part B thing with Alumilite clear. It's only if you're doing translucent or clear, transparent, that I would ever do that. So we're doing 3-inch PVC. So this is, it's 3-inch diameter, and it's, let's see what the measurement is. I want to say it's about 6-inch deep. About 5. Just a little over, it's about 5 inches deep. 5 inches tall by 3-inch diameter. And we're going to slow set clear. And we're going to add a little gold swirl, which the problem with that is it's going to be a little bit difficult to do that. You guys know that, you know, you can use syringes. I suck at that. So what I'm going to do is probably pour about half of it in there, and then add a little bit of gold and then pour the rest on. And that should kind of mix up that gold a little bit in the middle. It's kind of an easy way. It may not be perfect. You know, if you really want to get crazy, you can get syringes and kind of get in there and try and, you know, like squirt it out into a perfect thing. Sometimes it's easiest just to kind of like, you know, pour the majority of the resin, whatever the most, you know, the clear or whatever you're doing, and then just kind of dump some gold on and then just push it down in with a stir stick. That's usually what I do. That's easy, but it starts to get kind of difficult when you have a 3-inch, or I mean like a 5-inch deep kind of thing. So I'm just going to go for, you know, pouring most of it, maybe about 3/4 actually, 3/4 of it, and then pour a little bit of gold in there, and then pour the rest on, and that'll kind of swirl it around in there. That should be good. We don't need a whole lot of gold. We're just going to break off like, I don't know, like maybe 50 grams. We'll break off into a little cup right here. All right, so let me get a cup, 750. We're going to need a slightly bigger cup for that. So I'm going to get one of these. How big is this? 2-liter cup, 2.5 quart. That'll just give us a little extra room, so I'm not like right at the top of that thing. Another way that I could do this is just like if you don't have one of these big ones, but you have a bunch of quart mixing cups. It's not a big deal just to make 2 quart mixing cups. That works just fine too. You just got to mix twice as long, or like 2 things. So there we go. Let's see here. Pixie's here. What's up? 1 million pound houses. Oh man. That's how it feels everything is here. One of these days I want to move into a house with a shop, but there is nothing that is even close to affordable around here. All right, so we got everything ready. So let's get our work area camera going. Yeah, we'll do another one, Jen. We're gonna do probably, I don't know. Probably I want to do either pen blanks or maybe a handle or pen blanks. Jamie Page, what's up, brother? How's it going? Thanks for the super chat. Hope everything's well in your neck of the woods. What are you up to? Okay, we got our mold. We're gonna do these later. We got some shavings. I'm gonna put these back in the oven just in case. It's not very humid or anything out here, but so zeroed out, we need 350 of part A, 352 of part B. Just I'm going to add a couple extra, like I said. Do that with clear stuff when I'm using Alumilite Clear Slow only. So 350, 345. I'm going to call that good. 349.6, close enough. I'm probably going to go over if I do anything else. And then I'm going to do about 352 with this part B. This is the one I don't want to go over on. So I'm going to keep an eye on things this time. 325, 330, 40. Oh, look at that, 351.8. Boom, nailed it. And actually, I'm gonna kind of, well, we're gonna do it again, but it's kind of a good idea to wipe off the lids. Just make sure that you don't have a bunch of resin kind of on the tops and on the threads. It can kind of make your the caps not really, they'll kind of get stuck sometimes, especially on the hardener part of resins. All right, so now I could use a drill if I really wanted to, but I don't really need to. Not a big deal. Not necessary. Oh, let's see. Finish the workshop. Oh man, security camera. I know, man. People are going to be breaking into that thing. That is so cool. It's always fun to do a little shop upgrade, or even like just like a moving things around or whatever, redo, makeover. But it's pretty cool when you do, you did a serious makeover in there. Is the finished video up already? I have been so busy, I haven't been able to keep up with everybody's channels lately. I gotta get over there. Hey Steve, how's it going? Oh, the other thing, so don't forget guys, on Sunday, the winners of the giveaway are announced. So we got, the one winner is going to win a bowl, and one person's going to win the blanks package, all of those blanks. So be looking for that video. It's just going to be short and sweet, but we got that ready to roll. So I really appreciate all you guys' support. You guys all helped me hit 50,000 subscribers. Definitely could not have done that without people watching and subscribing, of course. So it seems obvious, I think, but a lot of people don't really think about that necessarily. It's you guys that got me to that milestone. So really appreciate that, and I appreciate everybody joining in the fun. Your comments on that video were just amazing. There wasn't one comment where I was kind of like, wow, that was kind of mean, like at all. Everybody's comment was just super awesome, very supportive, and I'm glad that it seemed like a lot of people were kind of thankful for seeing, like the mess up, number one, but also like, oh, okay, you can do something with that. It's not the end of the world. So I think it was good. Like I'm actually really happy with the outcome of that, You know, even though I didn't get my bowling ball, I'll do it again sometime. But I think it was more valuable doing what happened, having that video. So I appreciate it, guys. What's an addy? What's an addy? I don't know what an addy is. Oh, I see the address. All right, so I think I got that mixed pretty well at this point. Is anybody saying anything here? What is Chad saying? What is PVA mold release? I'm not sure what that is. I sprayed it with your Stoner, if that's what you're saying. You always want to use something on a pipe with epoxy and you know, urethane resins because they don't shrink much, and it can be a bear getting them out of there. With polyester resin, that stuff shrink. Most formulations of it. This doesn't, you know, it's not a blanket statement for every single thing that's a polyester resin, but most of the ones that people use for casting, they shrink so much that you really don't even need to spray PVC pipe. Not even the 3/4 ones usually. But pretty much with everything else. And at this today, I mean, most people really aren't using polyester resin because it's so brittle, it's so toxic, and so stinky that. And there's so many other good alternatives that turn better and work better that it's kind of, I don't know, 5 years ago you really had to make that statement a lot, you know, and talk about polyester resin, but I just don't even really see that many people using it today. So I was going to do 50 grams, I think. Is that right? 50? We're going to add gold to it. Doesn't have to be perfect necessarily. I'm a little bit over. It's okay. 53. Come on, get off of there. Come on, there we go. Wipe that up. I don't like the drips all over the place. I'm going to go with the Lumadust gold. This is one of my favorite golds, actually. Lumadust gold. It's pretty rich, bold gold. Bold and golden. I'm just going to go for a couple scoops. We're going to go for bold gold. And I need a stir stick here. So again, the game plan with this is I'm going to kind of mix it all. I'm going to pour up, and we're going to add a medium amount, let's say. That's a very subjective term, but in the bowl, we used a very minimal amount. I mean, there was a lot of, you know, clear space between that you can see. So I'm just going to kind of try and load this up a little bit, but it's not going to be so packed, you know, jam-packed that it's like dense in there. It's hard to explain, but I'll show you how much I add. If you really wanted to, you could get into, like, you know, how much weight or something like that, but I'm not going to worry about that. So we got our gold. I'm going to switch to the turning. It's just the name of the view there, turning view. So we have our thing here, but we need to add our shavings to the resin. So I like to mix it in because that way you get it kind of mixed and get resin, you know, coating your shavings. So let's just kind of put in a little bit. And this is the way that I would do like shredded money, coffee beans, things that are small kind of that you're adding. You want to get them, you know, nice and coated with resin. I think this is a much better way than trying to like just stick this in the mold and then pour resin over it. It can kind of clump up, and what can happen is if you have like especially in the case of something like, money's a good one. If you have pieces of money that are kind of two strands are stuck together, but there's no resin in between, then in the blank, it's a crack basically. And so that's why I like to kind of stir things like this in. It ensures that you have resin coating all surfaces, and it's not going to have little weird cracks. Shouldn't, anyway, you know. Not necessarily guarantee that for sure, but I think that after this might be enough. I don't know. Maybe one more little bit. It's kind of hard to tell. This looks a lot more like medium. I'm going to add just a little bit more. Some of these colorful little deals. I don't know. Like I said, this is super subjective, and I don't think you could really repeat this. too much. I'm just going to try and find a couple more colorful things here. There we go. Okay, I think that's maybe a little bit over medium, but medium well, I don't know. We'll see once we pour it in here. All right, so can you guys see what's happening? Yeah. About right there. I'm going to pour about 3/4 of this pipe. It's like a chunky soup. Skateboard chunky soup. All right, and I'm going to bomb this. I'm going to pour it kind of high. And then I'm going to kind of bomb this too. I don't know if that worked too well, but I can take a stick and just kind of poke it down in there. This stuff is kind of hard to do. Like I said, it is probably best to do that type of thing with a syringe, but I never seem to get good luck with those things. I would have to make 100 blanks messing with it before I could really figure out, you know, the best way to do that. I'm just going to take one of these guys, kind of give it a little bit of a swirl. That ought to be good. Well, we're going to get a little bit of gold streaking in there, but I don't know how well it's going to come out anyway in the end, because there's a lot of stuff in here. So we'll see. All right, so into the pressure pot you go. All right, 70 PSI, and we're good to go. All right, so the final one, we got Jen gets to pick what's going on. So do you want to do, what we have left are, we could do pen blanks or we could do like a handle blank. And this is a 2" by 6. I think that's all we got. Those are the two choices basically. And then Jamie can get in on, is Jamie still here? I don't know if Jamie's still here. Can get in on the action too if he has any ideas for this one. Let's see here. So what kind of air compressor? We have like a super industrial, like a 80 gallon or something like that air compressor. Frankly, I don't really even know that much about them. Whatever you get, you just need to get something that, you know, if let's say that you have a 2.5 gallon pressure pot, I would recommend getting, you know, bare minimum like a 2 gallon compressor tank, but probably a little bit more because you want the compressor to be able to have compressed air enough that will fill your pot. So whatever size pot you have, that's one recommendation. The only other thing is you really need, you know, if you're trying to take it up to like, you know, in this case, you know, 60, 70 PSI, something like that, then you probably need to get a compressor that can go up to like 100, 120. It has to be a little bit above that. You're going to lose some compression. So if like its max is like, let's say 60, it's never going to actually get your pressure pot to 60. So those are just a couple of things. A good one that I picked one up for doing right before I went to SoCal Pen Turners Gathering. I picked up the Cobalt, the one from Lowe's, and it's an ultra quiet. I'm just going to look at the name of it, or the number, whatever. I'm pretty happy with it. It's like a double kind of pancake deal. Is there a number? It's a 4.3 gallon, 150 max PSI. I don't see any, I don't know what the number is, but it's ultra portable. So if that's what if you're looking for something small, that one was pretty good and it wasn't that much. It was like 120 bucks. Everybody likes the California Air Tools compressors, so that's a good one. Any of them, the quiet ones. But there's lots of different ones. So, you know, I don't necessarily know a whole lot about it. Those are the things that I can kind of say that I think I know pretty well. The only other thing about compressors is you want to make sure that you get some sort of an air and water filter separator thing, so that you're not, you know, spraying air basically into your resin. I mean, spraying water in there. So let's see, where's Jen at? Is Jen here? Jamie's here. Faux ones. Oh. Well, okay, so we can make the faux one, but we can't cast the faux thing afterwards. So I have the faux burl mold. I don't know. The only problem is I'm going to be honest, I don't really think that's going to be awesome unless we do like with the clear kind of thing, because you're kind of not going to get the effect of the burl kind of, you know. I don't know. Let's see here. I mean, we could, I guess. Yeah, that might be all right. If we did it with color, that wouldn't be too bad. Why don't we try the solid white with, with shavings? We could do solid. That would actually. Now I'm trying to like figure out how this is going to look, you know. But if we did a solid color dye in you know, opaque dye in the resin, then you would get your burl kind of fluffs. And some of the stuff. Sorry, I had to kind of think about that. Clear wouldn't be, I was thinking of like kind of clear where it'd just kind of be weird, and I don't think you'd really see that. Although, yeah, it'd be kind of weird. Okay, let's do white with shavings, and we'll do kind of like another, I think if we're going to do white, I think we should pack it kind of full. I think that's a good test, just to see, you know, maybe not super ridiculously full, but a little bit more than we did on that last one that was kind of in the middle, sort of. You give up. Yeah, I know. It's tough. It's much easier to just be like, oh, we're going to do this, but I want to get you guys involved, you know. It's tough with the time lag, and there's like... It's one thing to just pick colors on blanks and things like that. That's fine. People just pick out, you know, throw out colors. But it's tough when there's lots of criteria and things, and we're trying to do testing and see different stuff, and it's so tough. I understand. Packet, sweet. Oh, I got a package too, guys. You guys know Fred Wisson over at P-Town Subby, right? He sent me. They came out with their own line. Everybody's got a mica powder. Look at this box of micas. I never got the other one, so we'll be using P-Town Subby micas. I think a lot of them are very similar to, you know, all the other ones. Like this rose red looks like vibrant pink, Caster's Choice to me. And that looks kind of pretty close to Doug Crazy. But I haven't seen a lilac. This is lilac purple. Like that one's a little lighter, a little different, kind of cool looking. They got a couple different kind of darker blues. That looks like midnight purple to me. So I think there's going to be a lot of similar ones. I haven't taken this whole thing apart. I've only looked kind of at the top level. But there's 2 rows, so there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 16, 32 colors. So we got a lot. So, and then Snow White. That one might be, I guess that's just a pearl. So anyway, oh, we got macro. They got macro pearl too. So there's yet another mica powder out there, and you can get these guys at Turner's Warehouse. So we'll be tossing these guys in, testing them out as we go. But for this, we're going to be using a, which I gotta heat this thing up. You gotta heat up your silicone. That's another problem. Gotta heat them up. Otherwise, things don't go as well as you'd like. So, well, that kind of, all right. Put this in there. Okay, so let's get some notes rolling on this. All right, so the third and final one today, because I got to get some other work done today, guys. I know. And actually, I'm going to put you guys on mute real quick. I need to pop this pressure pot. Actually, no, I don't. Never mind. I'll just pop that later. I got to keep one clear because I got to make blanks today too. All right, so let's see here. Number 1. Number 2. Number 3. All right, so we're doing the faux burl. Slow set clear. Let's see. How much does that take? 600? I want to say it takes about 600. But we're going to kind of pack it full, so I'm just going to mix up 600. We may have a little bit of waste. That's okay. So 300 times 2 plus we're going to add, let's go with Divine Pigments, white. Where are we at here? Divine Pigment. I should probably switch to the work area view. We'll go with the Divine. I really like this white. This one's a pretty potent white. Very white. So let's do it. So we're going to add about, I don't know, like 2% maybe, something like that. Or we could go pearl. Let's just go with a flat white. Let's not do bling on this one. So let's see here, 2. I don't know if I'm going to have enough. It's a lot of white dye that I'm going to need. So I'm actually we're going to switch back to Alumilite dye because I actually have I buy it in 16-ounce deals, so it'll be easier. We're going to add about 8 grams. Is that right? Let me just double check. So, yep. Okay, so 8 grams of white dye. And how I calculated that, what I do, because I'm used to the way that I do things, I'm using a 1-to-1 resin, so like I just say, basically half of it, or the part A. You can't put more than 5% of pretty much any of these dyes. Definitely with Alumilite dyes, 5% factored against the part A side is the way they say it, or just half the total amount of resin. So basically what I did was I took 300, multiplied that by about 0.025. I'm just putting about 2.5% in there. And I got about 7 point something. So I'm just rounding up to 8 grams. That's how I factor these things with dyes. It's kind of an odd way of looking at it. The other way you could do it is just say, the max you can do is 2.5% of the total amount of resin A and B in your cup, which might work a little easier for like a 2-to-1 or 3-to-1 type of resin. I don't know. I guess the other problem is, this works a lot easier with Alumilite because it's a weight thing. This gets a little bit more difficult if you're doing just volumes. So that's another reason why I kind of like the way that I do things, and slow set clear. All right, so 8 grams, we're good. So 300, and then we're going to add, let's see here. We're going to packed with shavings. Packed with peanuts. Snickers satisfies. All right, so we got our burl mold in the oven. What else do we got going on here? I think you guys are having too much fun in the chat there. I don't know what's going on, but it looks like it might be illegal. All right. Oh, look at that. A clean cup. Huh. Happy days. All right, so we're going to do 600. I think 600 is good on that. Let me... Yeah, faux fun. Nope. Let's see. I think I have it written down in here somewhere. Here it is. 460? I need to double check the amount on that thing. I might be way over. Hold on a minute, guys. I haven't done one of those for a while either. When did I make that? There it is. 500. 460. Okay, so I'm a little bit over at 600. So we're going to adjust that to, I think we're going to actually drop it down to 450 because we're going to be also shoving shavings in there a lot. So this is even still going to be even higher than we need. So 450, everything's going to change. So we're doing 450 total. And, oops, 450 divided by 2. So that's 225 times 2. And then times 0.025. So we're looking at about 6 grams of white dye. So that's a little bit less. And then packed with shavings. So, good thing I double checked that. All right, so we got our cup zeroed. How am I illegal? I was just kidding. I was just saying, you guys are having too much fun. It must be illegal. All right, so 225. $224.3. Jeez. That ought to be good. Okay. And zero that out at 225 part B. Got to sneak up on it. There we go. Snuck. I snuck up on it well. Okay. And we'll mix this guy up here. Can you guys see what I'm doing? Yeah. Sweet. How do you like this this camera angle coming in from the side? Do you like this? Is this better than it usually is, or it doesn't really make any difference? Let me know. What degree? I use scales that are 0.1 gram, 0.1. If you're mixing large amounts only, if that's all you're doing is like, 600 grams of resin or some large amount, you don't necessarily need that 0.1 accuracy. But if you're trying to get, if you're going to use amounts of dye, like weights of dyes, I would highly recommend that. And if you're doing something like tube-in casting or like really small, you're just mixing up a very small amount of resin for something, you definitely want more accurate. And the thing is, as long as the one trade-off is the more accurate a scale is usually, then the lower the max amount you can actually weigh on it is. This scale, the American Weigh, I don't know, whatever this is. I have a link to the one that I use. It goes to 0.1, but it also goes up to like 3,000, I want to say, grams. So it gives you a pretty wide variety or wide range that you can go up fairly high. A lot of the 0.1 scales only go up to 500 grams, for instance. There's many that I've seen. So when you're looking, just try to find something that's going to give you the range of weights that you want. If you're going to do gigantic buckets, though, this thing is not. You're going to max it out. That's one where I've started getting into like really large pours, where if I'm weighing it, I'm going to need like a much bigger scale. Higher thing, like at that point, you can use just like a postal scale or something like that goes up to like 50 pounds, something or more. So anyway, just some thoughts about what I use, but I've been pretty happy with this one. I have lots of them. I think they're about $30, something like that, 30, 40. Not too bad for the quality. I've actually tried quite a few different scales, and frankly, most of them suck. I don't really like them. They may be cheaper, but they don't, I've also tried some really expensive ones that frankly just kind of suck. So, I've been pretty happy with this. It's a good all around scale. The other thing I really recommend, I think it's best to get one that plugs in the wall. Just so that, what can happen with the battery ones is the battery could die in the middle, or a lot of times they just shut off automatically. They have like an auto shut off feature, which I've run into the thing where you're in the middle of pouring stuff and something, takes your attention away and it shuts off and you might not be done. So I think it's better just to have one that stays on forever. All right, so I need 6 grams of white here. Come on. Come on. Hello. Anybody in there? I don't think it's empty. I don't think it's bad. Could be kind of empty. There it is. I knew there was some in there. So 6 grams. Sneaking up on it, 5. Doesn't really matter that much, but I'm going to get in the ballpark. There we go. A little over, but we're fine. 6.2. All right. Here we go. Yeah, you can get cheap ones, and there's some that are good. I have used a few battery cheap ones. I don't drag these if I'm doing a demo. I'll just use a battery operated one, and they're fine. But I've been doing this for 8 years. I've used many, and this is the one that I personally like. The best. That works best for what I do. So that's all I can kind of share with you guys. There are lots of cheap ones. You can use any of them. As long as it's accurate, you know, it doesn't really matter. Okay, so we got that ready. And we're just going to dump a bunch of this stuff in here. But I am going to kind of mix it around, make sure that it's, yeah, I think this is going to be kind of cool. Can you guys can't see what I'm doing. Here we go. That's looking pretty neat. What do you guys think about that? It's like Fruity Pebbles in cereal, or in milk. I mean, we're going to load it. Now we're getting kind of thick. Let's do a little bit more. Ooh, there's lots of color in there. Now, if you're going to be doing something like this, you want to use pressure. Like, this is not one of those where, oh, my resin has a long working time, I don't need it. When you're doing something like this, look at all those air bubbles in there. And there's way more trapped, you know. You're going to trap a ton of air. So you absolutely have to use pressure to get the air bubbles out. I think this will be kind of cool. Okay, now I'm going to do something else here real quick. One thing that we can do is we can actually dust the mold with a little bit of sparkly stuff if we want, like a powder. So what I'm thinking is we'll take a little bit of, let me look at the macro. In fact, let's use the new macro sparkle. Let's try this. I'm gonna go easy on it a little bit, but let's add a little bit of macro sparkle to this. You can dust things onto your mold surface, and it's kind of fun. So I'm not gonna paint the entire thing though. I just want to. I'm gonna literally take a paintbrush. Can you guys see what I'm doing? No. I gotta kind of keep my eye on the timer here, but I'm just gonna kind of dust a little bit of sparkle here and there into the mold. Oh, I need to hit this with mold release real quick. Shoot. That's okay. Forgot to mold release this, guys. All right, now we're going to dust this on a little bit. I'm just going to put like some streaks kind of through the middle. Okay. There's a billion different ways you can do effects and things like this. Now what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to dump this out. I'm smacking it, trying to get excess out of there. But we have kind of a line in the middle. That's kind of what I was going for. I thought it'd just be kind of fun to try something different out. And we got to use some of the P-Town Subby Macro Sparkle. Basically the same thing as Macro Pearl from Caster's Choice, I think. All right, so at this point, I think we're ready. Let's just dump. Not too bad. Now it's gonna compress a little bit. Oh shoot, I forgot to put my sleeve on this thing. Uh-oh. Where's the sleeve? Oh man. I lost the sleeve for my mold, guys. This is not good. Oh, I know where it is. Really should have done this before I poured the resin in, but hey. And for some reason, this thing doesn't fit as well as it used to anymore, but that's okay. So that ought to keep everything together. This was that mold that I had to kind of cut to demold it. I have an update that I'm working on, though, where it's going to be the softer silicone and will not need relief cuts. So I'm going to put this on my handy dandy doohickey. This is also a P-Town subby. Did you know that, guys? P-Town subby original right there. And I don't know if you can see anything. You want to make flurry? Yes, or a blizzard. I don't know if you can you can't even really see. Whatever, you guys see what I'm doing. You know what I'm doing. Tossing it in the pressure pot, applying some pressure. And there we go. So for the Alumilite Clear Slow Set, these need to just stay in for like a couple hours. They'd be ready to rock. You know what we could do? Actually, I should have... Unfortunately, what I should have done is there's a little bit left, and we probably could have gotten at least like one pen blank, but I don't have any more pressure pot space open, and I don't want to reopen this thing, so whatever. We'll do it again next time. We got a whole box of this stuff, so this is not over with Skateboard Shavings. We got more tests that we can run. I'd like to do some pen blank type stuff one of these days. Try a couple different things. I think it'd be interesting to see mica powder, like just, you know, instead of that just solid white, like, you know, maybe like blue mica pearl. That's it. And then the shavings, you know, and what I'm thinking is, as long as you're cutting into it, you know, once you cut into the thing, whatever the blank is, it'll just have little speckles of all those little skateboard things in the wood color, and it should be kind of cool. So anyway, I don't know. You need to get a compressor then. Get that compressor. What was the question? How many pressure pots do I have? I have 5. Well, technically, so I have 6, actually. I bought another CA Technologies 2.5 gallon. So this was my plan. I like the way that everything's set up, and when I went to SoCal Pen Turners Gathering, I had to, at this point, I've learned not to rely on anybody having equipment if I'm like doing a demo or something like that. I just, aside from a few things, I trust Chad. If I'm going to Turner's warehouse, I know what's in his place. But if I'm going somewhere new, like, I will literally ship all the equipment I need, just because otherwise you run into problems. And so I was like, hey, Chad, I want to get another pressure pot for just demonstrations. And then COVID hit, so like I haven't even unboxed the thing at this point. I could use it, but I don't really have room to just store another one. 5 is plenty, but I have 4 2.5s, and that's what I generally use most of the stuff for. And then I have a 5-gallon CA Technologies pot, and that's one area. So, you know, at the beginning I was talking about the TCP Global pots. I absolutely would not recommend buying a CA Technologies 5-gallon. Those things are so expensive that it's just, I'm a little bit mad that I spent that much money on it, because I don't really use the capacity of that thing that much. So at that point, the California Air Tools 5-gallon is pretty decent. But I'm really excited to get my hands on TCP Global sending me their new 5-gallon resin casting pot. They came out with one specifically for resin casting. They're kind of all in trying to make products for resin casters specifically. And so in Casey Martin, you know, we do the podcast together. Make sure to go and check out the podcast if you haven't listened to that. So the Resin Cast, the resincastpodcast.com. Or what did I do? Oh my God, we're having difficulties here. You can listen to them on our website, but you can just subscribe on iTunes or Google Play, any of those things. So I want to make sure we're Casey and I are ramping up our episodes. We're trying to do it weekly now. So it should be pretty fun. We're going a little more all in. We gave it about a year or so And we got really good response on it. So make sure to check that out if you like audio podcasts and resin casting. But anyway, Casey helped them develop this thing. And so I kind of got in on the loop, and TCP is going to be kind of helping support our podcast. And so they're going to send me a 5-gallon pressure pot, the new one. And from what I understand, you can literally take it out of the box and like cast, like plug in, if you've got, I think it's set up with a ball valve and a connector even, I think. So I'm really anxious to get my hands on it. And there's no extraneous things that you need to plug or take off or change. No modifications, like it's like ready out of the box. So I'm pretty excited, and it'll be, a little bit less than the CA Technologies pots. So it'll be pretty cool. It'll be a good one. But I don't use the 5-gallon one. I don't like 5-gallon pots particularly, because most things I do, 2.5 is plenty. And so that's actually something I'm going to be talking to TCP Global. I'm hoping that they're going to come out with a 2.5-gallon version of that casting pot. And that'll bring the price down even cheaper, and it'll be a little easier to handle. What I find with 5-gallon pots, the lids are heavier. There's a lot of things going on with those things. So anyway, a lot of random stuff to explain to you guys. You got a sore throat? No, that's no fun. Let's see here. Sorry, I'm trying to see what's going on here. I don't know what's happening with the chat. Let's see if I can catch up to what you guys are saying. Yeah, well, and CA Technologies makes one that's for resin casting specifically. The reason why that's important is because I would literally turn people away from buying TCP. So I had an experience way back in the day, like this is like 5 or 6 years ago, where I tried one of their pots, and they're the ones that had the agitator in the middle, which was kind of weird and odd. I didn't like that, but it was a reasonably decent pot, like the fit and finish, and it's the same type of clamping system. Like it looked like a reasonable pot, but the thing that where there was an issue was, and I actually called them, I just called their random helpline. It was difficult to see I didn't know what the max PSI was for the pot. I saw somewhere that they were saying like 90 PSI was the max, where CA Technologies is a better pot and it's only 80 at the max. And I'm like, but I had also seen other things say like 40 PSI was the max. And so I called them, and whoever answered the phone, it was apparent they had no clue that resin casters were using their product for what we were doing. And I said, look, I'm going to be doing resin casting. What's the max PSI on this thing? I see on your website it says 90. And literally the guy just laughed, and he's like, I wouldn't go over 35. And I was like, done, sending this thing back. Like obviously the company didn't stand behind their product nor know what people were using it for. So now things have totally changed there, and they've come out with a pot that is ready to go out of the box. Even the CA Technologies resin casting one, you do have to add a couple little fiddly bits to it. So I'm excited. I think it's nice having more options that are affordable. That's the only reason I'm like excited, I guess, about this. I have no reason to change. CA Technologies pots are awesome. The only problem with them is they're kind of expensive. So if this new TCP pot is, reasonably, as long as I like it, basically, and it's a cheaper option for people. So whatever, as long as you can get good quality stuff for cheaper, I'm all about it. Now for me, I already have a whole bunch of CA Technologies ones, but I am going to kind of swap out that CA Technologies 5-gallon and start using the TCP instead. So that's how that'll kind of fit into my arsenal. So just wanted to explain myself to everybody, because I'm sure everyone will have questions about what's going on, but it's pretty cool. The other thing is I like companies. I get excited about companies who care about resin casting. Like they care enough that they want to find out. Like Casey worked with somebody over at TCP to develop that pot, right? So any company that is willing to do that, work with somebody that's in my field and will develop stuff, and they're like totally willing to take even more ideas. If there's any ideas that we come up with, they want to listen. That's awesome. Like I will fully support a company that is like that. It's much better than there's so many no-name companies that like, you know, we recommend, but CA Technologies, I've talked to them. They know exactly what's going on. They fully support that too. And so that's why I kind of have always liked CA Technologies, and the pots are just awesome. They're excellent quality, but they're kind of expensive, you know? So that's the story basically. So anyway, guys, I got to get a little bit of work done. It's 5 o'clock. So I appreciate you guys joining the fun. These guys will be ready tomorrow, so I'll probably post some pictures. I don't think I'm going to do a live demolding tomorrow. The last 2 weeks have been, do you guys ever get to the point where like you just cannot get anything done? Like things get in your way, or you're kind of maybe unmotivated, or not unmotivated, but you just can't get yourself going kind of thing. That's been like the last 2 weeks. So I need to catch up on stuff tomorrow, and I think just having another live stream, it just distracts me enough. I need to get out here and get work done tomorrow. So I'll probably just post some pics tomorrow of the blanks when we demold them. And then again, Sunday, we'll be announcing the winner on YouTube. I'll be putting a video out on my channel announcing the winner for the bowl and the blanks packages. So it's going to be pretty sweet. And again, thank you guys for all the awesome comments on that video, and thank you for jumping in on the giveaway. We had so many comments, and I'm really happy that there was quite a few people that were just interested in the bowl, which makes me happy. I'm definitely going to be putting more finished products up for grabs in giveaways going forward. So anyway, let me see, and let me just make sure there's no. Yeah, 5 gallon. If you're doing Doug type projects all the time, then you want a 5 gallon pot. I make pen blanks. 2.5 gallons is perfectly fine for most things. Handle blanks, you know, most of the things that I do on this, you're good to go. But if you're putting 5 gallon buckets, you know, you're not going to fit that in a 2.5 gallon pressure pot. So get the big one if that's the type of thing. Or if you're thinking about doing bigger projects and you have money for one pressure pot, then get the 5 gallon. But you know, if everything you're going to do is just like pen blanks, smaller things, bottle stoppers, and it'll fit in about a 12-inch diameter type thing, or actually I guess the most pots are about 9-inch that are 2.5. Then, you know, as long as it'll fit in the pot, then just get the smaller one. It's cheaper. Otherwise, get the bigger one so that you can have all, you know, fit anything that you want to put in there. So I need to watch your lives while you're sanding. Yeah, I don't think that's how I can't handle watching my own sanding. So, oh, you changed your name, Chad. Nice. You got to put Chad's Woodworking, so that everybody knows who you are. But that's cool, man. So let's see here. Yeah, I hope you feel better, Christina. Get lots of rest. That's the other one. Well, I'm glad you enjoyed it, and let's see, I'm just double checking. Yours is only a 2.5 gallon Harbor Freight? Okay, well, if you're doing bigger than Doug's type things, then get the 5 gallon. I think Nick Zametti has 5 gallon pots. So like if you're doing things like he does, you might want that. The Harbor Freight pot is only 9 inches in diameter, so you're going to be limited to that. The CA Technologies pots, that's another reason I like CA Technologies. They're wider. It's about 10.5, I want to say, something like that, diameter for the 2.5 gallon. When you move up to the 5 gallon ones, they're usually like 12, 14 diameter. So, and then a lot taller. So depending on what you're doing, that's, you know, that's the difference. You know, you'll want to check it out. So anyway, guys, let's see here. That's about it. So anyway, yeah, and frankly, I don't care what pressure pot you use. If you can find a great deal on a safe one, go get that. I can only recommend things that I have actually tried. I just want to say that. I'm sure there's lots of other ones out there. There's that go from super cheap to super expensive. So I just want to say that. I only mention things that I know about, basically, and that I would actually, you know, have used, have some experience with. So anyway, guys, I will see you guys on the next stream. I'm not sure what is going to happen next week. I think I mentioned it on last Wednesday. It's kind of tough to keep up with these, even just 2 streams a week. So we're going to have to kind of see what's going on. I've just been getting, things have just been kind of piling on top of each other lately. So I do have an idea of something to turn, though, that will be fun. I did want to try one of the bottle stopper blanks that where the heck did the other one go? Huh. From the mess up blank, I was thinking about maybe trying to turn one of the bottle stopper ones. It'll be kind of a quicker project, but I'm curious. I still haven't turned any deep pour yet, so I just want to see how that turns, and that would be kind of a fun one. So maybe Wednesday we might do that. It kind of just depends on what's going on with the scheduling, but for sure. Well, actually, and I have to say, so next Friday is the first Friday one, so that's the Patron Hangout. And actually what we're going to be doing is snake skins. Well, not snake skins, like snake sheds, like, you know, how they shed their skin. We're going to be kind of playing around with that. I got a couple of people sent some in. So if you want to join the Patron family, then you can get access to the first Friday Hangout and live stream. And then Q&A. So we'll be doing that as a demo just to kind of see. I've never done that before. And then after that, we'll be back in action on the normal Friday YouTube ones. So anyway, guys, I hope you have a great evening. Have a great, happy Halloween. Stay safe out there. And then I will see you guys in the comments section on Sunday. And good luck to everybody in the giveaway. So thanks for joining the fun tonight, and I will talk to you later.